Hey guys, Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. We want to thank you so much for all the support you've given us here on the network. And if you want to see what we're up to outside of the station, please follow us all over social media. I'm on Twitter at Mike M Media and on Instagram at Mike Mercado Media. You can follow the good brother Alex Mercado on Twitter at Mercado21Alex and on Instagram at Mercado2121. The lovely Nicole Mancha is on all social media platforms at Typing When Tipsy. You can follow the network on Twitter at Mercado Airwaves. Our pop culture show, The Good Brothers, on Twitter at Good Brothers Pod. Our true crime shows on Instagram at Murder, Mysteries, and More. And of course, like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. You can see all our videos on YouTube.com/Mike Mercado2333 or by searching Mercado Airwaves Network. We play video games on Twitch, twitch.tv/Mercado Airwaves Network. And of course, you can support our network by finding a tier just for you, whether you want early access, you want to be part of polls, you want to win contest prizes, by visiting us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. And we really appreciate it wherever you get your favorite podcast to like, rate, review, and share us. And please spread the word. For the good brother, Alex Mercado, for the lovely Nicole Mancha, I'm Mike Mercado. Thank you so much for all the support you've given us here on the network.
Well, joining me today in another edition of Mercado Airwaves Quarantine is the one, the only, one of the most passionate guys I know when it comes to the business, one of the guys that I go to when it not just want to talk about sports, but just want to talk about life. He is the founder of Daily Blitz, which you can follow on Twitter at Daily Blitz _61. He is the one, the only Christian Simpson. What's going on, my man?
Oh, man, it's good to be here, man. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. You can follow Christian himself on Twitter at NYS Finest, obviously New York's Finest 90. That's NYS Finest 90 on Twitter. And of course, he has all of it hooked up to his Instagram and to his blog, the Daily Blitz blog. And he's the man. Chris, before we get into everything, I also wanted to talk about it. I mean, we've known each other for a long time, and during this crazy times of, COVID-19 and what's going around in the world, I also want to take it a little bit, a few weeks ago, you lost your grandfather, and I want to send our condolences, obviously. And, when all these crazy times happen, obviously, things kind of get lost in the hay. But, just want to send our love. And if you want to take a second just to talk about your granddad, who was a big influence in you.
Yeah, he really was, man. First, thank you. Thank you very much. And I wanna thank everybody who's built up as a community to check on me and offer prayers and condolences and love, not only to me, but my whole family. And I say that on behalf of both of them. My grandfather had Alzheimer's. In that last week of life, things just didn't go well for him. And you never want to see your loved one in pain. So, he went peacefully. He lived a great life, Mike. He was 84 years old. Blessed to have had him for as long as I have, and to say I have both my grandparents for as long as I have. But I can wake up every morning, and go to bed every night saying to myself, "There's no more pain. There's no more suffering." So the man upstairs has him, and I'm just elated for all the support that I've been given, because my parents have always told me, you handle yourself well, it's going to come back to you. And they couldn't be any more wrong. And I've seen it through all of this. But the love is what's really carried me through everything.
Well, you're one of the real true gentlemen that we have. And, we just want to send you some love about that. But also, before we move on a little bit, I also want to talk about, you being in that situation. What is some advice you give to some people that are maybe for the first time going to have a loved one go through that? Because that's one of those heartbreaking diseases that we see people suffer through, where they become, almost prisoners in their own body. And, do you have any advice for any, listeners here of Sports from the Couch or Mercado Airwaves or the Daily Blitz, or just anybody right now who's stuck at home just trying to find content and little solidarity in our community that might be going through this after this pandemic happens? Because, your life doesn't necessarily stop after something like this.
No, it doesn't. And my advice would be to love them while they are still here, because when they're gone, they'll be with you, but the physical presence of them, that is what you're definitely going to miss. So cherish every moment. And I can sit here and gladly say that I did that, taking him to his doctor's appointments and cooking his meals and making sure he ate, making sure, he was bathed, and just making sure he had everything. I would all over again if I had to. I would drop everything I was doing just to do it again. And, that's the piece of advice, the main piece of advice, who's going through this. love them while they're still here, because they claim you never know what you have until it's gone. And to those who have lost a grandparent right now, it's okay to grieve, because I'm grieving right now. There have been days when I haven't wanted to be near the phone. There have been days when I have wanted to be near the phone and talk and hang out with people. So take as much time as you need. Those are the two biggest pieces of advice that I could give anybody that's dealing with this situation right now.
And, nothing but love to you and the family, my man. And, yeah, man. And so let's talk a little bit. Let's transition to the world of sports a little bit. What's something that distracts us when it comes to times like this, when we're dealing with a world pandemic, or we're dealing with the hardship in our own family, or even just boredom, or just trying to find community, or just looking for an extension of talking to people who have the same passions as we do. And one of the things that you and I are very passionate about is the NBA. We're all about the association. It's something that we love. And on top of that, you and I were big Kobe stans. And I haven't talked to you since we lost Kobe Bean Bryant, but obviously with the seriousness of everything that's happening with COVID-19, and I guess we kind of did get a chance to really mourn, because the greatest city in the world, Chicago, did have one of the best All-Star games / tributes that they had for David Stern and for Kobe Bryant, and obviously the other victims of that helicopter crash. But for somebody like you who is such a huge Kobe fan, what kind of emotions were you going through at that time, and kind of how do you feel about it right now with the NBA being suspended, obviously for the health of the players and the fans? How do you feel like it almost feels we're not going to get that true ending of seeing maybe an all LA Western Conference Finals and it being all about Kobe Bryant? Or did maybe we get a little bit of that at the All-Star game here in Chicago?
Man, first off, and I think I say this on behalf of myself, and I'm sure you and Mercado Airwaves can vouch about this, but your heart goes out to the 9 victims that were lost. Mm-hmm. No parent should have to bury a child, no matter how old they are or the relationship that they have. And what's funny? When I was growing up, I actually hated the Lakers, but I always respected Kobe Bryant. He, honestly, man, he truly, it may sound cliche at this point, but he truly was the closest thing that I've seen to Jordan.
Yeah.
And I caught Jordan toward the tail end of his career. I saw all of Kobe. I saw Kobe win all 5. I saw the clutch shots, the ice in his veins, and he wanted to be great. And I've always on birthday, there's a quote, you get 3 things in life. You get a starting date, meaning when you were born. You get an ending date when you're no longer here on this earth. And then in the middle, you dash. And I think the goal of many people, myself especially, is to leave your impact and to leave your legacy on that dash. I can't think of another person who's lived by that saying more than Kobe Bryant. I mean, he may be the second greatest player I've ever seen. I wouldn't even be opposed if a lot of people say he is the greatest that they've seen, because of our generation, he was our Michael. He was the guy that set the tone, and he was loved worldwide. I mean, when I look at sports, I always mention that superstar factor, and Kobe is one of the biggest superstars. I've never seen a death this big in the world of sports, and I was definitely taken away by this one. And a crazy thing is, I went to the Bulls game the day after he passed. They played the San Antonio Spurs. The United Center was all purple and yellow. They had videos of his pictures, and obviously both teams did their little tributes, the 24-second violation and then 8-second violations, moment of silence. And there was so much purple and yellow there, you would have thought that it was the Staples Center. You really would have. So definitely a heartbreaking tragedy, but I think what broke my heart more was the fact that his daughter was with him.
Yeah.
So a wife and a mother had to bury a husband and a daughter, and no one deserves to do that. But your heart just goes out to the victims, to the families, and just absolutely devastating for the world of sports. The world of sports truly lost an icon.
And, I think for a lot of people, what ended up being interesting is the NBA is the one sport where we've never really lost somebody like that. We've never truly gone through losing a former MVP. It's one of the rare sports because it's one of the youngest, but also on the body, it's not as traumatic as it is, let's say, in the NFL, where we've lost a lot of young, guys in their 40s and their 50s. We've only lost 3 MVPs in Oscar Robinson, in Wilt Chamberlain, and now Kobe Bryant. And I think what's interesting about the Kobe Bryant death is, as much as I love Kobe Bryant, the Mamba mentality and whatnot, I think it's also, he's a rare case where you get to exercise exercise almost everything it is to be human, because he has such it's such a roller coaster of a life, from everything that happened in Colorado to the comeback to the high school story to the Oscar to being one of these one of these men that advocated for women's sports. It's a thing that we as people, not just sports fans, but as people, get to really go through our own emotions. I think that's what a lot of people were going through during the Kobe Bryant death. Is just not just how sudden it was, how tragic it was with the other lives lost, but how complicated it is.
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely true. And man, I can tell you, I remember when the rapper Nipsey Hussle passed, and just how that affected people, and just his impact in the state, in that city of California, and what Kobe was to the Los Angeles. You can't mention Los Angeles Lakers basketball without Kobe Bryant. To me, he's the greatest Laker ever to do it. No, it's no disrespect to Magic. It's no disrespect to Kareem or all the Jerry West, all the others. But to spend 20 years, your entire career with one team, and to give those memories that he's given, it's absolutely incredible what he was able to do and what he was able to accomplish. And I mean, come on, man, how many guys go out with 60 points in their final NBA game? Only Kobe.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he's the Black Mamba for a reason, and he is one of our best friends. Christian Simpson joins us today. You can follow him on Twitter at NYSFinest90 on Twitter. But just as important for all you NFL junkies, check out the Twitter account, Daily Blitz _61. And this is what you need to, especially in these times. You're looking for good stuff to read. The dailyblitz.blog. I'm the 2-3 out of here. Welcome home, Malcolm Jenkins, filling it live from the bridge. All these hot pieces are out right now, and the one and only Christian Simpson does the amazing work, gets lost in the music, and gets lost in the National Football League. And Christian, I think it's time we talk a little bit of the NFL. How about that?
Yeah, let's do it. It's been a couple crazy days, and I think I know where you're going with the first thing that you want to talk about.
Before we get to that, let's go chronologically, because you know what I want to talk about. But this is the People's Show here on Sportsman College on Mercado Airwaves, just like the Daily Blitz. It's the People's website for everything National Football League. Let's start with one of the things that really just surprised me, the fact that a man still has a job after making this trade. How is DeAndre Hopkins, an Arizona Cardinal? Explain this to me. How is Bill O'Brien still a coach in the National Football League?
Well, remember, Bill O'Brien is the same guy in a playoff game against the Kansas City Chiefs that tried to go for a fake punt with half a field.
Preach.
On 4th and 7, and he gave Patrick Mahomes, who, in my opinion, is the most electrifying player in the National Football League, had less than half a field to work with. So if he's making incorrect decisions as a coach, what do you think he's gonna do as an acting general manager? Maybe he has the coronavirus and he's just not thinking properly. So yeah, I was absolutely shocked, because DeAndre Hopkins is one of the two we have in the game right now. Physical, a guy that can go over the middle with a tremendous catch rate, a tremendous catch radius. He has the ability to extend out and reach out and really get a grab in just the perfect sense for the football. He was Deshaun Watson's security blanket, just a guy that could stretch the field, a vertical threat. And remember, he's coming off one of the best years I think I've ever seen from a wide receiver. He caught 115 passes in 2018 without a single drop. So do you see the laser focus right there that he has when he's on the field? And I'm just still here to this day scratching my head and asking myself, why? But people also have to realize this is a business, and the Houston Texans were really strapped for draft picks. So to get draft picks, you're going to have to give up a big name. I felt they could have gave up someone else. At this point, you could have traded J.J. Watt. I think he's more trade value at this point, in a way, because I know he's been battling injuries the last couple years, but to give away your best offensive player, it makes absolutely no sense, and I'm still asking myself why.
Do you think that this shows that they're going to pay Deshaun Watson at any time soon?
It's definitely true. It's definitely something that could happen, and he deserves it. I mean, he's really become that face of the franchise for the Houston Texans. I loved him when he was at Clemson. I break the game of college football down as well, but he's really elevated himself. And when I watched him in the playoffs against the Buffalo Bills, I saw Clemson Deshaun just being on that big stage, putting the team on his back and say, hey, follow me. I'm going to get us to the promised land. And that's exactly what he did. I see them paying him a pretty penny, and it would be very well deserved.
What do you think about Tom Brady and heading down to Tampa Bay? At the end of this, we all know that it's a symbiotic relationship between having a good system and having the right player operated. And I think a lot of people, myself included, when we think about Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun Watson ending up in Chicago, how they would have done the same thing they ended up in Houston and Kansas City. One issue ended up being, though, is Matt Nagy running the offense. So now we have TB12 heading down with Bruce Arians to Tampa Bay. We don't know exactly what Bill Belichick is going to do up in New England. Is this a case where both are going to end up looking worse for wear after it's all said and done?
Well, first, look at what Bill Belichick's been able to do without Tom Brady. 2008, Tom tears his ACL on a hit by Bernard Pollard. Took a shot to the knee, tears his ACL. Matt Castle comes in. The Patriots go 11-5, but because of tiebreakers and they lost so many games within the division, they didn't qualify for the playoffs. 2016, Tom finally decides to say, hey, you know what, just to get this out the way and to stop being a distraction for my football team, I'm going to sit these 4 games out. Jimmy Garoppolo comes in. They go 3-1. So Bill Belichick has shown you he's able to do it without Tom Brady. It's going to look weird because all we've known is terrific Tom in one uniform. As far as Tom going to Tampa Bay, he goes into a pretty good system. And I'll be realistic. I thought he was going to end up a Los Angeles Charger. I thought that was the perfect fit for him. They have a great possession receiver in Keenan Allen, another possession receiver in Mike Williams. And what's the one thing that Tom's kind of become dependent on in his game in New England? I'll give you a hint. It's not a pass-catching running back. It's the big guy over the middle, the tight end. He had one of the best to do it in Rob Gronkowski for, 8-9 years, and they built together great chemistry. And I thought Hunter Henry could have been, not Gronk-like, but he could have been that safety valve for Tom Brady. But a big part of Tom Brady's offense is the pass-catching running back, and the Chargers just signed one of the best to do it in Austin Eckler. So I thought that was a better fit for him. But he goes into Tampa Bay now, 2,000-yard wide receivers in a tree, and Mike Evans, who what he's done with an inconsistent Jameis Winston, and Chris Godwin on the other side. See what they do at tight end. O.J. Howard, they have him. Running back, that's the biggest question mark right now that's surrounding the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and their defense because they struggle to get off the field. But if they can shore up their defense, get a couple of picks, if they could get a running back that could complement Brady, I'm not going to say they'll win the division because they're not the favorites. I'm not going to go against the guy that's run the NFC South for the last 12 or 13 years or so in the Saints, in Drew Brees, just because Brady is there. But the one thing I will say is do you realize this, Mikey? We get Tom Brady and Drew Brees 2 times a year.
I didn't even think about that. And we're also going to see Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady this year. And we get to see Nick Foles versus Tom Brady this year.
And we're going to see Mahomes and Tom Brady.
Yes, we sure are.
So, yeah, I think this is going to be a great year. Man, I never thought that he would ever think about leaving New England, but I'll tell you this. I knew he wasn't retiring. There's no way that man, with the competitive fire in him and the winner that he is, he was going to let his final pass be an interception. There was absolutely no way. So I'm glad he's going to be back. And my advice to everybody that's going to watch him is, look, just appreciate the legend that we're seeing. This is a living legend. And to me, he may be the most dominant football player in NFL history. I mean, look at the numbers. 17 division titles, 9 AFC championships, 6 Super Bowls, 3 league MVPs, 520-something victories, and you can't really mention playoff football without mentioning Tom Brady.
And I think what's going to be interesting is see how this offense reacts to having a quarterback that's not like Jameis Winston. Because if you look at the biggest knock to Jameis Winston, it's always been the turnover, whether it's getting the ball, throwing the ball to the other side, or just putting it on the turf. So it's going to be interesting to see how this offense kind of clicks on that way. I will mention this, though. We do now know that Todd Gurley is a unrestricted free agent. It would be interesting to see how he would do with a team that already has Mike Evans, Godwin, has two good tight ends in O.J. Howard, and in I'm spacing out their name, the other tight end, Christian.
Cameron
Braid. And then if you bring in Todd Gurley, I mean, I think that's as strong of an offense going into a division in which you're going to play Christian McCaffrey twice a year. You're going to play Drew Brees twice a year. So, and you're going to play Matt Ryan twice a year. Now, it maybe not be murderer's row like it was 8 years ago, but the NFC South is tougher than the AFC East. So it's going to be, I'm really interested to see how Tom Brady responds in that way.
Yeah, I am too. He's had the luxury of playing in some pretty soft divisions over the years. Let's just be realistic here and call it what it is. The Jets haven't really been great. The Dolphins, no comment. And then the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills have probably been the toughest competition of the Patriots over the last couple of years. They always seem to just play them gritty, but Brady always just found a way to escape and dominate against the Buffalo Bills. So, yeah, like you said it best, going against Carolina twice a year now and going against Atlanta twice a year now and now seeing the class of the division 2 times a year and another legendary quarterback and Drew Brees 2 times a year. It's definitely going to be interesting. This is a very intriguing division now.
So let's go ahead and move into what was the biggest news here in the city of Chicago, and that was Nick Foles traded to the Chicago Bears for a compensatory 4th-round pick, and essentially the Bears don't care about draft picks. But let me ask you this. First, we'll start off this way. I mentioned this on the last show I just did on Mercado Airwaves, where this was a sneaky competition move for Mitch Trubisky. Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy cannot afford to say we give up on Mitchell Trubisky. They didn't draft Patrick Mahomes. They didn't draft Deshaun Watson. They have had egg in their face for almost 4 years now because of this. They act almost for a year and a half that they had won a playoff game and then come back and have such a disappointing season. For them to have came around and be like, we pick up Cam Newton. We're bringing in Teddy Bridgewater. Will not only have put an exclamation point on them not retaining their jobs, but now they bring in a guy that they could say, well, he earned the job. He beat out Mitchell throughout it. One injury happens. I think this is just a backdoor interest for them to make a move that they wanted to make without having as much egg on their face. What do you think?
I actually like the move that they did. I'm one of the few. I've seen so many people on social media talk about, this move is terrible. Nick Foles, of all people, the Bears front office just continues to throw eggs in our face. And I'm going to explain right now why I like the move. Number one, Nick Foles is a winner. What did he do just 2 years ago?
Yeah, he won a Super Bowl. What about St. Louis, though?
Yeah, but look, man, that's St. Louis.
Fair, granted, but like when you're such a high draft pick and you do have a lot of momentum behind you and you end up having to become a backup, and mind you, while granted he won a Super Bowl, Carson Wentz is who got them to week 14 before he blew out his ACL. So can Nick Foles take you 17 weeks and then 3 weeks in the playoffs and then go to a Super Bowl and beat Patrick Mahomes? That's my concern. Whether or not he's better than Mitchell Trubisky is a different conversation. I'm not going to disagree with you on that. And I'm not going to disagree with you that he stepped up in one of the biggest moments. But Gardner Minshew beat out Nick Foles. That's the barometer we're looking at right now.
Yeah, I get that, but you also got to remember too, Nick Foles was hurt. Nick Foles wasn't healthy.
Fair enough.
I just thought him in Jacksonville wasn't a good fit. Nick needs an offense where the receivers are going to be spread out. They can go underneath. He can stretch the field. That's the type of quarterback he is. He's about 6'5", can move around when he wants to. He's a more slightly athletic version of Joe Flacco. That's the best way I could put it. Has a strong arm, can fling the ball down the field, and he spreads the football around. That's number one. Number two, Matt Nagy is an offensive-minded coach, and he's a former quarterback. So this could go hand in hand for them. 3, Bill Lazor, their offensive coordinator. He's worked with Nick Foles. And the Bears quarterback coach, John DeFilippo. He's worked with Nick Foles as well. So it's all about personnel fits. And I just thought Nick was a better fit for them within the system than Cam Newton. And which just led me into my next sentence about Cam. He can't stay healthy. He's damaged goods. I'm not saying Cam's not good. Cam's been good. He hasn't been the same since his MVP season, but injuries really have taken a toll. He's coming off a foot injury, and his mobility is a big part of his game.
What would you say, what was the better move, Nick Foles to the Chicago Bears or Teddy Bridgewater to the Carolina Panthers?
I'm going to say, wow, that's a good question. Wow. I thought I had the answer, but now I had to think. I'm going to say Foles, but I don't think Teddy was too far off because you got to realize something about new head coaches. They want their own, whether they get a free agent quarterback or they draft it. And Matt Rule's coming from Baylor. He was great. He put that program back on the map. He's coming to Carolina, and I think he can do some wonders with the Carolina Panthers. But the biggest prize in all of this for Carolina is the offensive coordinator, and he goes by the name of Joe Brady. He was LSU's passing coordinator this year, so he worked with Joe Burrow, and Joe Burrow just, I don't know, happened to win a Heisman Trophy and a national championship to cap off a perfect 15-0 season. So I want to see what he can do with Teddy Bridgewater, and if Joe Brady continues his luck, he's going to be a head coach in 2021.
Do the Buffalo Bills win the AFC East if Andy Dalton is the starting quarterback for the New England Patriots?
Yes, they do. I think Buffalo they have a lot of great pieces around them, and they're a fun team to watch. But I think the reason why people get so bored with them is because they're not a flashy team. The Buffalo Bills just want to run the football downhill. They want to pound the rock in between the trenches. They have a quarterback that can control things but can move the pocket and make things happen with his arm. The only thing he just needs to work on is his happy feet. He gets too happy, and then he just ends up heaving the ball up, which then results in an interception. And their defense is one of the three best in the league. They don't have to load the box to rush the passer. They have pure athletes up front on that defensive line, in that linebacking core, and they have one of the best defensive backs in the league in Tre'Davious White as well.
Now, here's the thing. I like Nick Foles if he were the backup quarterback, and let's say you had drafted a Joe Burrow if you were in that position, or you had done your due diligence and you had Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes, you wouldn't be in that situation. But I think at the end of the day, what you've seen with the Chicago Bears is they doubled down on their defense. And obviously with the Quinn pickup, that they've solidified that defense. Danny Trevathan getting an extension. So we know that they feel like they're all in this season. The real question becomes the rest of the division. What is Detroit going to do? What is Minnesota doing? Paying Kirk Cousins, getting rid of Stephon Diggs. Buffalo looking a little bit better because of that move. It's Green Bay, obviously, when you have Aaron Rodgers, you're always in the conversation. I believe...
I actually have an interesting thought about Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. Aaron's getting up there in age, but he's still able to get the job done. But I also feel the Green Bay Packers have wasted a great portion of his prime. Outside of Devontae Adams and outside of Aaron Jones, who else can he depend on as that third option? Most quarterbacks have about 3 or 4 consistent options that they could depend on. Look at Brady in New England all those years. The last couple of years before he left, he had Gronkowski. And when Gronkowski was out, who'd he turn to? Julian Edelman. Julian Edelman's out. Who's he turn to? Danny Amendola. Aaron Rodgers doesn't have that. And that's why I'm saying right now, if I'm the Green Bay Packers, I'm doing every and anything I can to call out the Los Angeles Rams and get Brandon Cooks. They need him.
Well, he would be the move when you had Jordy Nelson. That's the guy who really helped Devontae Adams and really helped Donald Driver for a little while. Like, it's one of those type of receivers that will go across the field and will get a lot of possessions and will let Aaron Rodgers get the ball out of his hand. And while he's able to make a move out of the pocket, when the pocket collapses, Devontae Adams is now open, and that's how they end up breaking the hearts of every single Bears fan. We are here with best friend of the show, Christian Simpson. Follow him on Twitter at NYSFinest90. Go to Daily Blitz at DailyBlitz_61. And, of course, the DailyBlitz.blog for all the up-to-date articles Christian is working on. Let me ask you, if we're at this point and And we're talking about Andy Dalton to New England, and we know Tyrod Taylor is going to end up being the starting quarterback over in Los Angeles for the Chargers. Where's Cam Newton going? Why not New England?
Yeah, why not? I think an offensive-minded guy like a Josh McDaniels would be good for Cam Newton. He still has a lot left in the tank. I mean, this is the years where he's supposed to be in his prime. I know he's been sidelined with injuries the last couple of seasons, but New England, I think, would be good for Cam. He's a guy with a big following, and my thing is this, though, about Cam. Can he abide by the Patriot way? Because when you are a member of the Patriots, you have to make sacrifices. It's not about you. You're going to have to sacrifice several things, whether it's family, whether it's finances, that ego. And that's the thing that kind of concerns me. I don't know if Cam Newton can do that because he can be stuck in his ways if you think about it. And I said the exact same thing about Antonio Brown when the Patriots signed him. Can he sacrifice and put all Antonio Brown to the side and be better for the team? That's the thing I need to see. And I don't know if Cam can do that. Maybe Belichick can get through to him, but he's going to have to say, hey, look, you come here, be ready to work. That's how we abide by the Patriot way. And that's why the Patriots have been so successful for the last 2 decades, because they're structured.
Well, I agree with the principle of that. I think where I disagree with is the difference between, let's say, what we had with Cam Newton compared to Antonio Holmes is you're talking about one that had mental health and problems when it came to the criminal problems. I think Cam Newton's just eccentric, and I think obviously, he dresses, flamboyantly when it comes to showing you his fashion senses, and he doesn't abide by necessarily the black and gray and just a cookie cutter way. But at the end of it, like Brown, I don't know why I said Antonio Brown, Antonio Holmes, Antonio Brown. The difference with him is we're talking about an unstable man, and I think Cam Newton does not want to be labeled the Carmelo Anthony of the NFL. I think he wants to win a Super Bowl. I think he feels that pressure of being at a Super Bowl, being a Heisman winner, being a national champion, going to a Super Bowl. I think he wants that, and I think he will find himself in the best position to try to do that. I think there is a difference. Like Randy Moss was another one who never did anything necessarily criminal compared to what the narrative was, and he went to New England and really, adapted, and they went 16-0.
Yeah, you know what? To piggy off of that, New England's done that. They've taken guys who have been quote unquote troubled and have turned them around in a way. They had Albert Hainsworth for a couple of years, and Albert Hainsworth was known to be a troublemaker. Who's another one that they had? Randy Moss was the perfect. I think that worked out for them pretty well. Aaron Hernandez, because Aaron Hernandez was a top 10 draft pick.
Yeah.
Minus everything that happened before he even stepped foot on a field in the National Football League. He was, in my opinion, the best tight end in the country that year, and he moved down on many people's draft boards because of his use of marijuana. And he seemed to be a pretty solid fit for them until he thought he was about that life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe Cam can come in and he can change things, but you said it pretty best. You have to differentiate between the two, Antonio Brown and Cam Newton. But Cam does have a little bit of an ego, and that's the thing that I'm concerned about. And you can't have egos when you play with the New England Patriots. It's team or nothing. And that's why they've been able to be so successful. Why do you think Belichick is always yelling on the sideline? Do your job.
Todd Gurley really is only 25 years old.
Wow, he look older than me.
Yeah, how about this? Todd Gurley to Buffalo. Josh Allen, Steph Diggs, Todd Gurley.
That might put them over the hump even more in the division, but Devin Singletary is pretty good, man.
But you need a 1-2 punch at the running back position. Like, you know that better than anybody. What's going to help keep somebody alive, and the best teams have it, when you're able to split the ball 20-12. You know, like when you're able to do something to that vein. I think that's what the Bears wanted to do. But look at Kansas City. They have a three-headed monster. The point is to have the most fresh legs. New England, another perfect example. It's a killer for fantasy football players because you never know who the ball is going to go to. But if you promise me Frank Gore meets Devin Singletary meets Todd Gurley with Josh Allen, Josh the Stallion, come on, kid.
But my thing is this. Can Todd Gurley stay healthy? His knees are horrible, and it continues to keep him off the field. And what's crazy is just 3 years ago in 2017, I thought he was the favorite to win MVP. He ends up winning Offensive Player of the Year, and he looked like the best running back in the National Football League. He got paid like it, and now all these years later, he's a free agent. But also remember, when he was at Georgia, he had knee problems as well. So I'm concerned. If you're a team, I'm not giving him max contract money. I'm giving him maybe a 2-year deal, maybe worth $12 million, and see if that works. And if that works, you revisit it again.
What is the one move or one guy you're waiting to see ends up happening and drops? What is the one thing you're waiting to see happen in the next few days in the National Football League?
I mean, besides Brady finally confirmed, hey, I'm going to Tampa Bay, because I think everybody is on pins and needles with that decision. I'm going to say, who's going to take a chance on Todd Gurley? And that's one thing. And where's Brandon Cooks end up next? Brandon Cooks, to me, is one of the more underrated wide receivers we have in the National Football League. This guy has put up 1,000 yards receiving in 4 out of his last 7 years, and you don't hear about it. He's a consistent threat. He's played with 2 of the greatest quarterbacks ever to do it, in Drew Brees and Tom Brady. And I know I said the Packers need to be on the phone for him. Why not the Saints as well? I want to see if the Saints are going to add another weapon offensively to complement Michael Thomas. Because if you play the Saints and you bottle up Alvin Kamara and you shut down Michael Thomas, you beat them. Drew Brees doesn't have another consistent weapon on the outside to get the football to. Traquan Smith, he's up and down, but he's more of their inside guy. He's their Julian Edelman, the guy that can work the slot, take a top off the zone occasionally. Ted Ginn is getting up there in age. Why not bring Brandon Cooks back? He knows the system, and I think he and Michael Thomas have a chance to be the best wide receiver tandem in the National Football League. So I'd say those 2 things right there for sure.
And a little news about the New Orleans Saints. Their head coach, Sean Payton, has confirmed that he has been diagnosed with COVID-19, a.k.a. coronavirus. So just make sure you guys are all being safe out there, okay?
Yes, please. Wash your hands. You go out, wear gloves, wear
social
distance. I know that's what I've done.
Social distancing as much as possible, 6 feet. And if you can, stay inside, order from your favorite restaurant, support your local businesses, and watch out for your elderly, my friends, and keep up to date with all the news. Christian, I have a question for you from a Joe Grisso.
Okay.
Did the 49ers make the right decision in choosing Armstead over Buckner long term?
No, they didn't. Eric Armstead, to me, was their best defensive player last year. It's no disrespect to Nick Bosa, but when you needed a guy to consistently do it and control things up front, Eric Armstead did it. He led the team in sacks, a guy that could stunt up front, a guy that was able to get to the quarterback by all means necessary. And he, to me, I think is going to be the piece that holds this entire San Francisco defense together. This is the team with the best defensive line in the National Football League.
Our best friend Christian Simpson is joining us today on Sports Mercado here on Mercado Airwaves. Hopefully you guys are all being safe as we are in our little own social isolation and distancing during these crazy times with the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic hitting the world. Hopefully everybody's being safe. You can follow Christian on his personal Twitter at NYSFinest90. That's NYSFinest90. The Daily Blitz is on Twitter at DailyBlitz_61. You could check out every news article that he posts up at thedailyblitz.blog. What's the Instagram information?
My Instagram information is my career, the NFL analyst _61. Having a blast with it. Man, I remember when I first met you, I was telling you about my concept and you were on board with it. Can you believe this will be 10 years this year?
Wow.
10 years.
That's crazy. What time flies by, though. That is, it happens, though, man. I turned 30. My birthday's next month. We're not doing anything now, but yeah, it happened fast, bro.
Oh man, and I'm turning 30 in December, so I'm right there with you, brother. But we still look good.
Hey, man, it's just like fine wine. Speaking of fine wine, I got some more good stuff for you, good guy. So this is what we did yesterday. We went on live. This is when you and I scheduled this. And here are just some reactions that I got from my personal page. I want to run them by you. This one first comes from Jose. Foles, further proof that they're committed to Mitch. This has to be the last try at making Mitch work. If it doesn't, then both he and Pace have to go. Nagy might have a little bit more slack than them, but not much. Cam or Teddy could have given them some more life if they were looking to draft a QB 2 to 3 years from now. Now, here's my thought, Christian, when it came to that one. First of all, they were not going to admit that they were wrong. And also, do you want Ryan Pace making a decision after he passed on Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson?
No, you don't. I mean, let's just be realistic here. He knows he messed up. I can't say what I really want to say, but yeah, he knows he screwed up. I just think he's trying to make amends with the entire fan base at this point. You know, he goes out, he gets Jimmy Graham, a guy that he scouted when he was with the Saints, so he knows Jimmy Graham. Maybe that'll work as well, but yeah, at this point, I really don't think he's going to gain the trust of Bears fans ever again, because you passed up on two guys who have become stars. One has become a superstar, and in my opinion, the best in the business. Now, you what direction do you go in now? I mean, you traded everything up, and now, looking back at it, I know it takes a lot to get a lot. You don't have a draft pick in the first round for the next couple of years, because you got Khalil Mack, and that was a great move. But at this point now, what do you do moving forward?
And I think that's what's going to be most frustrating for Bears fans, is that they're going to have to go through that. You know what? We got a few more minutes with one of our best friends, Christian Simpson, so we'll run through some of these questions that I answered in the last video. But when we have an expert on like Christian Simpson, we got to run it by him. How about this one from Andrew Popa? What direction are we going in? With Trubisky being too inconsistent, Pace and Nagy publicly stood behind him and said he's our guy moving forward. Now they signed Foles. It seems like they are loaded up heavily this year to be a Super Bowl contending year. You don't win a Super Bowl with two quarterbacks, just like an NHL team doesn't win a Stanley Cup with two goalies. The year they bring back the Honey Bears will be the year they win the Super Bowl. Obviously, the last part being a joke, and Virginia McCaskey will never allow that. But the first part about that is when you have Nagy and Pace standing behind Trubisky, it's to save face, right? That's all they're doing.
What direction are they going in? I mean, I just think they're a middle of the pack team right now. They're not a team that scares you. It looked like that in 2018, and I'm going to explain why they were so successful that year. They were able to be successful because, one, there's a new head coach intact. With that being said, with the new head coach intact, there's no tape on the type of system that he's going to run. Why do you think Sean McVay was so successful in his first year? Teams didn't know what they were going to expect. Now teams are caught up to them. Matt Nagy didn't implement any type of improvisation within the Bears offense, and teams caught up to it. They said, you know what, put all the pressure on the defense, bottle up the run, load up the box, and make that quarterback beat you with his inconsistent arm. And they did that. They were too inconsistent offensively, and to me, sometimes I think Matt Nagy overcoaches, and I noticed that a lot in the playoff game last year when they played the Philadelphia Eagles, because there were times when he was a little too, I won't say aggressive, he was a little too conservative. You have to be aggressive in the playoffs, and he wasn't. And to me, that's what ended up catching up to him.
And my guy, this is something we got to hit on before we get out of here. This upset me. This comes from a family member of mine, Ramon. This is worst move of the offseason. Not only picked up a QB that only plays well with the Eagles, but also added a huge contract to cap an over-the-hill tight end. I just want to get to that. What the hell? Bringing in Jimmy Graham.
Yeah, Jimmy clearly hasn't been the same since his New Orleans days. I thought he was the best tight end in the league, or you could say it was 1A, 1B with him and Rob Gronkowski at that time, because they both kind of came into the league at the same time, and they were trading highlights. Jimmy isn't a physical tight end. To be a successful tight end, not only do you have to be able to create over the middle and create those mismatches with a safety, a linebacker, or a corner, you have to be able to block. And Jimmy's a horrible blocker. I thought things would have worked out for him in Green Bay, especially when they hired Matt LaFleur, an offensive-minded guy, to be their head coach. And it just didn't work. He and Aaron Rodgers just never seemed to be on the same page. And if he were on the same page, we could be talking about him being that third option that Aaron Rodgers could depend on down the field when teams have bottled up Aaron Jones and teams have bottled up Devontae Adams. And how so? Because, one, he creates those mismatches over the field. He's 6'6", he's 6'7", so you can't really defend him in man-to-man coverage. You can only hope to contain him at that point. Really didn't get the job done with the Seattle Seahawks. Green Bay was a nightmare, and I thought that was going to be a really good move for him. Let's see how this works out with the Bears, because he truly hasn't been the same, and I really think he and Drew Brees would have made or shattered quite a few records if they were together still in New Orleans at this point, because Drew Brees still has it.
Last one.
Uh-huh.
Give me a grade if I give you these three signings or acquisitions. Robert Quinn, Jimmy Graham, Nick Foles. What do you give it a grade of?
Robert Quinn is a solid B+. I don't think people realize he's still good. He's only 29 years old. He's been around for quite some time. He's a huge pass rusher. And with Khalil Mack lined up on one side, you put Robert Quinn on the other, he's going to see a lot of one-on-one opportunities because Khalil's going to command a lot of attention, as is Akeem Hicks. And I think Akeem Hicks is the whole glue that keeps this entire Bears defense together. You saw how much his presence was missed. And what I mean by that is he's able to command a lot of attention up front and clog up that middle, so those linebackers behind him are able to run and roam around in open space. But that was a solid B+. That was a great move. He's an excellent pass rusher. Another guy that can get you about 10 or 11 sacks per season.
At NYS Finest 90, at Daily Blitz _61 on Twitter. Go visit the dailyblitz.blog for up-to-date articles written by the men. And, of course, Instagram, the NFL Analyst _61. He's my brother, Christian Simpson. Christian, love to you and the family during the hard times and during this time as you guys heal and come together. And please, during this craziness of COVID-19 and what's going on out there, please be safe. Nothing but love to you, the family. You're one of the good gentlemen, and it's always a pleasure to have you as one of my brothers.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. Much love to you as well. Thank you for everything you've done for me in my career. And, it's just been a blessing to come on this platform to talk the game I've loved since the age of 6 years old. Hopefully we can do it again soon. And I'm going to echo your sentiments as well. Stay safe. Do not go out unless you need to. And wash your hands. Please, wash your hands. Practice good hygiene, y'all.
Remember in How High, Redman's mom, you bet you ain't even washing your ass.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, look, if people are struggling to wash their ass, they ain't washing their hands.
Love my boy, nothing but love. Christian Simpson.
Too, man. I appreciate it. Yes, sir.
Christian Simpson, Daily Blitz here on Sports from the Couch on Mercado Airwaves with Mike Mercado.
Hey guys, Mike here from Mercado Airwaves. We want to thank you so much for all the support you've given us here on the network. And if you want to see what we're up to outside of the station, please follow us all over social media. I'm on Twitter at Mike M Media and on Instagram at Mike Mercado Media. You can follow the good brother Alex Mercado on Twitter at Mercado21Alex and on Instagram at Mercado2121. The lovely Nicole Mancha is on all social media platforms at Typing When Tipsy. You can follow the network on Twitter at Mercado Airwaves. Our pop culture show, The Good Brothers, on Twitter at Good Brothers Pod. Our true crime shows on Instagram at Murder, Mysteries, and More. And of course, like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. You can see all our videos on YouTube.com/Mike Mercado 2333 or by searching Mercado Airwaves Network. We play video games on Twitch, twitch.tv/Mercado Airwaves Network. And of course, you can support our network by finding a tier just for you, whether you want early access, you want to be part of polls, you want to win contest prizes, by visiting us at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. And we really appreciate it wherever you get your favorite podcast. So like, rate, review, and share us. And please spread the word. For the good brother, Alex Mercado, for the lovely Nicole Mancha, I'm Mike Mercado. Thank you so much for all the support you've given us here on the network.